All right.
Have you had mono, Austin?
Not to my knowledge, but I feel like I'm so tired most days. It's honestly a distinct possibility that I've had mono and just not noticed.
It might be. I've known people who were like, yeah, turns out I have mono. Then I've known other people who like just dig a hole and die.
I've actually never contracted any STDs, and I'm thankful for that. Not just in a general sense, but also specifically because my university has the highest. I might have said this before, the highest like infection rate of any public university, maybe in the country, if not just the South.
What?
To the point where there's a pretty pervasive rumor that we have our own strain of herpes. I believe it is.
Right.
It might be syphilis, but like that's the thing. That's like the thing people say about our school is like FSU. Yeah, they have that seminal herp. You know.
The thing about sexually transmitted infections is that I think as a subcategory of diseases, it's a little disingenuous because, like, we don't know exactly how many diseases are sexually transmitted. Can you get a cold by boning somebody? Probably.
Who wants to find out?
I mean, if they have a cold.
But we don't. But we don't call a cold a sexually transmitted infection. It's just like it's a virus.
Right, and there are things that we call sexually transmitted diseases that you can get through sex, and that is like the most famous way to do it. But there are other ways to do it. Like you can get HIV like in a less fun way.
Mm-hmm. In some very unfun ways.
Right.
I like how this is like the.
I'm sorry. They all sound not fun, but
This is the epidemiology podcast now.
Well, all I'm trying to illustrate, Austin, is that you may have, in fact, actually gotten a sexually transmitted disease and/or infection. It's just not one of the more glamorous ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could have got chicken pox. Hey guys.
Yo.
I said this to Johnny before we start, but if you hear any weird noise, it just started storming really badly.
Before you continue, I just want to go back a second to when you said, "Yeah, I might have gotten chicken pox." Did you have sex with somebody who had chicken pox? Is that a concern that's like lingering in the back of your mind? Like, dang, wouldn't have gotten chicken pox if not for that one night.
No, I had chicken pox when I was like a kid, so I think I'm good. That's my understanding of it.
Hey,
I am not a doctor.
Look, I don't tell people when kids, should or should not start having sex.
Let's stop.
Eject. Abort.
I'm sorry, you were saying something about weather, which is probably a safer topic.
It's everyone's favorite topic. No, I was just saying that I pride myself in having pristine audio, but if you hear any background weirdness this week, it might be that. It just started storming. It has nothing to do with the fact that I am breeding Snorlax in Pokemon, and therefore you might be hearing clicks from my 3DS as I do that. Unrelated. Actually, just it's not happening. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Neat.
Yeah. I also just caught a Porygon, and I named him Skrillex. So what do you guys want to talk about this week? I have a number of topics. I have some Thanksgiving stuff that happened to me. I got D&D Law Corner. Not D&D Corner and Law Corner. I'm combining them this week. D&D Law Corner.
Okay.
I also met a local celebrity. Again, it was an eventful week for Austin.
Yeah.
When you say you met a local celebrity again, do you mean that you met the same celebrity a second time?
Correct.
Okay.
I feel like you can only meet someone again if one of you does not remember the other. Did the other person not remember you?
That's the thing. He definitely remembers.
Is it that the thing? Because I want to hear all about this now.
Okay, is that where we are? Hold on, let me put Skrillex in his box.
Okay.
I'm okay starting there. I think that sounds like a lovely place to begin.
All right, so when I went to vote, outside of the polling station, there's like a line that says like no campaigning past this point. Mm-hmm. And standing right up against the line, as close as, like, I guess legally allowable, was a man holding a sign. And it said, "I am Rocky Hanna. I will fight for your kids." And I said, oh, man, I would vote for that guy, but I wish it said, "I will fight your kids," because that's a platform I can believe in. Mm-hmm. And my brother turns to me and goes, "Dude, he can, that's Rocky Hanna, and he can hear you." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" He goes, that's not like, "I am Rocky Hanna, like I stand with him." Like, that's literally Rocky Hanna right there. Like standing with his own sign against the line as close as he can, like a goddamn rebel. And he definitely heard that quip you just made about him. And so I said very loudly so he could hear me, well, now I have to vote for him. He can see me. And the motherfucker just like waved at me. And so Rocky Hanna, this goddamn Tallahassee legend, I looked him up. He is the only non-party affiliated school superintendent to ever win an elected position. He's neither Democratic nor Republican. He just fights for kids, man. And he totally uncovered like this whole corruption thing. Apparently the last guy who had the position was like corrupt and taking bribes, and like Rocky Hanna took him down.
From the kids?
That's what I want to know. Did he fight kids on the way there?
Fucking children. Also,
No, I mean the last guy, did he take bribes from the kids?
That's why Rocky Hanna had to fight them.
That's what I'm assuming here.
Also,
You ain't gonna bribe this office no more, kids. Put them up.
Also, I love that you're doing this conversation like with like the assumption that we know who that is. Like, it's really great. You have not stopped to explain who this is.
No,
You're like,
he
like
did.
the Rocky Hanna guy.
Leon, he just explained. Dude's
yeah, I understand. It's like what?
Rocky Hanna. He fights for kids.
I don't know what that means. You have to explain more than that.
He's a school superintendent.
Yeah.
And he's a fucking legend.
He's a local celebrity, apparently.
You keep saying it.
And here's what happened. This
please.
This happened. That was election day, right? So last week we went to the store. I think it was like the day after Thanksgiving. And as we were getting in the car in our local Publix parking lot, the Publix, which I've told stories about before, it's a very popular local hotspot. Who do we see at the
bonin?
It's where all the hot ladies go.
Did Rocky Hanna get reelected?
Oh, I mean, he took the spot. That's the thing he just did. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh, you mean he didn't get reelected? Rocky Hanna was. This was Rocky Hanna being elected.
Yes, I voted for him, and he swept out the corrupt guy and took his rightful place as school superintendent.
Nice.
But
Take
guess
that,
who?
Kids. I genuinely don't get the whole fighting for kids thing, but okay.
He's a school superintendent. He fights for your kids. It's not complicated.
Does he physically fight for your kids?
Is that? Listen, I prefer
His
to
name
leave
is
you.
Rocky.
I prefer to leave you in suspense. It's funnier that way. But listen to me. Listen to me,
bullshit,
you two.
but okay.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
I'm in the Publix parking lot, and who is that at the ATM?
Is it Rocky Hanna?
It's fucking Rocky Hanna.
Did you peek over his shoulder and get his PIN number?
But my brother, sly, pulls out his phone like he's texting or something, but he's definitely trying to sneak a picture of Rocky Hanna in the wild, in his natural habitat.
Right.
But Rocky Hanna ain't no fool. He notices, he peeps that shit, and he throws up some fucking, peace signs. It gets, the best angles for Tyler's paparazzo shot.
How many children was he fighting?
I mean, I think he was fighting them in spirit by participating in local business.
Ghost children.
But he definitely noticed us, and he waved at us as he got into his fucking Escalade, and it was like, yeah, he definitely recognizes us as those goofuses from the polling station, because he was locked eyes with us and waved, and it was like, he's like, yeah, that's right. I'm local legend Rocky Hanna. That's what his eyes said to me.
Okay.
I was really hoping that it was going to be Jeb Bush.
That would have been an entirely different and much more unpleasant situation.
Well, it would have given me a chance to launch into a famous hit single from YouTube music sensation Hot Dad's Jeb Bush official campaign theme song.
What?
Jeb for Prez. Have you guys not heard of Hot Dad?
No, I don't know what that is. I don't know what anything is on this podcast today.
I was going to say, Leon's so lost today.
Okay, Hot Dad. Here, right. I'll send you a link to Jeb Bush's official campaign theme song.
Okay.
Hot Dad is a little difficult to describe.
Yeah.
But he's basically a musician.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well,
Anyone is a musician if you can hum. Anyone is an artist if you can, scribble. So he can be a musician.
No, I mean, he is a musician. It just is... there's a I'm trying to find the right word here. There's a certain power in the music that Hot Dad writes.
Is it hot power? Like what? What's happening? What is going on? You're everything.
He wrote an Undertale song.
No.
Okay.
He wrote he writes like sitcom themes to certain things. Like he's taken like movies or like things in the popular zeitgeist and been like, yeah, like I'm gonna write a sitcom theme for like what it's like to watch PewDiePie, or like like he's rewritten sitcom intros too, like Alf or Community. He's a little difficult to describe, but like everything he does is kind of very deeply informed by the 80s and not 100% serious.
Okay.
But he's totally worth checking out. So like that the link that I just posted right there, the Jeb Bush official campaign theme song is one of my favorites.
Okay, so
I was just about to sing it for you guys if Austin had run into Jeb Bush.
Oh.
Jeb for praise. Sorry. Check out Hot Dad.
Is that a sincere endorsement, or is that
no.
I'm making fun of you endorsement?
It's not a serious endorsement. He did official campaign theme songs for Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Jeb Bush, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Ted Cruz, basically, like all of the top dollar candidates.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just it's something that you kind of have to see in order to absorb.
Okay. So what I've learned in the last 12 minutes of our recording is that Hot Dad fights children.
I'd say that's a good TLDR.
Okay, good. Austin showed me a picture of Sonic the Hedgehog pickles, and I'm like,
I think it's Sonic the Hedgehog as a pickle.
Okay, well, I mean, it can be both.
If you heard me losing my shit during the whole thing Johnny was saying, it's because I posted a picture of this. I guess pickles. They're like, listen,
they're pickles.
They're pickles.
They're gherkins.
But there's a picture of Sonic the Hedgehog as a pickle on the front, like his pickle OC or his like pickle persona, and the label says Ogórki, Conterswows.
Do we know what that means, or
I assume
is it funnier
means
that we don't?
Pickles. I don't know. If anybody else wants to take a run at that pronunciation, it would amuse me greatly.
Okay.
Nobody?
Right.
Someone want to try to say that?
Conservau?
Conserwowo.
But that's
I don't feel like
that's
you gotta
definitely
take it
an
seriously.
Ogórki.
Okay. Well, this was fun. But
I guess time to go. Thanks, everybody.
Word Funk is canceled. No.
It's what we deserve.
Yeah. By the way, I should probably say, hello, everyone. Welcome to Word Funk. I'm Leon Thomas, and I'm joined by Austin Urisky and Johnny Maloney and Pickles.
And Hot Dad.
Yeah.
Although he's only here in spirit.
Yeah. You ever? I had a thought. You ever like all of a sudden like the vaguest, not even a memory, but more like a feeling comes back to you like from something in the past, and there's like vague images related to it.
Deja vu?
You're like, no, not like, oh, have I done this before? No, more like I vaguely recall doing something as a child, but you're not sure. But it's so hazy that it feels like it might have just been a dream.
Well, that's yeah. Okay, so something a little vaguer then.
Yeah. That's how I feel about the show Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills.
Right.
It just occurred to me, like, the other day that it's like, wait, did that happen? And then I was like, oh, I can just YouTube it now.
Do you mean did that happen in your life, or was that a TV show?
Did I watch it, or does this even exist?
Okay, because for a second there I was going to ask some very serious questions about your childhood, Leon, but all right then.
Was I a tattooed teenage alien fighter? No. No, it's just this very, very bad show that someone scraped together because Mighty Morphin Power Rangers became a thing. So everyone was like, let's put almost no effort or money into this and just get some of that. And some of those, like, I shouldn't say rip-off shows, but inspired by the trend shows. Like VR Troopers and, what was it called? Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, I want to say. Yeah, all right. That last one had Tim Curry in it, so it must have had some kind of budget. Then again, everything from that era had Tim Curry in it. Yeah, not the point. But this show was just like it's so incredibly bad that I wasn't sure if it even existed. And then I looked it up, and I'm like, yeah, that was actually a thing. I don't know.
I always used to feel that way about the TV show Out of This World.
Which one is that?
It was like super early 90s, like so early in the decade that it may as well have belonged to the last one. Mm-hmm. About this like teenage girl who discovers that her dad is actually an alien. Oh. Because her mom is like, oh, when you turn 13 or 14 or something like that, or 16, I can't remember how old she was. It's like, your father asked me to give you this, and it's this like glowing box that would like talk to her. And it was like her dad, and then she discovered that she had all these like superpowers. Like if she touched her fingers, her index fingers together, she could stop time.
Yeah.
So then, of course, you get episodes like where she's not studying for a test. She's like, oh, whatever, I can just touch my fingers and then like, write down all the answers off the key. And then like the test comes, she touches her fingers and it doesn't work. And then she learns a very important lesson about cheating. But, yeah, it was just, I was like, for years, I was like, fuck, was that a thing?
Yeah. Thanks to the internet, like, we can solve all our childhood problems. Well, not all of them, but we can solve the very specific ones about television shows that may or may not have been a thing.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay. That's just something I wanted to bring up because it popped into my head. And then I watched the theme song on YouTube, and wow, is that bad. And I can't hear all the lyrics because everyone's screaming over it, and there are monsters. Oh well. I just looked it up, and Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills had 40 episodes. That's a pretty, respectable run for such a bad show.
I mean, it makes it like 4 times better than Firefly, just mathematically. That's how capitalism works.
It is. Okay, I'm done now. Maybe next week we'll talk about Beetleborgs. But I have nothing further.
Bad Beetleborgs. Excuse me.
Oh, is that what it's called? I never actually watched it.
Hell yeah, Big Bad Beetleborgs is my shit.
Biker Mice from Mars.
Get that weak shit out of here, Johnny. What kind of podcast do you think this is? We're a Beetleborgs household here.
Don't make me start talking about Dino Riders again.
We can't do it again.
It's probably going to happen again. I mean,
I don't know if there are any 3 people on Earth who talk about Dino Riders more than us. And that's not because we talk about it a lot, but we talk about it probably significantly more than the average person.
It's a low bar, but we clear it.
Yeah.
It's deep saturation, but, low threshold.
Okay. I have like almost nothing. I could talk about Moana, but I feel like I've been hogging the microphone for a bit. Austin or Johnny, do you have anything you want to talk about? I know, Austin, you had like a million things. Johnny, anything cool happened to you this week?
I got a really short one. I'm drinking a glass of wine right now called Apothic Inferno.
All right.
Apothic is this winery in California, but this is like a small batch wine, red wine, that apparently they age for 60 days in whiskey barrels. Mm. And I know neither of you guys are that big into drinking, which I assume transfers over to wine.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, that's sometimes a question, because sometimes there are people who are like, oh, I don't like to drink. I just like a glass of wine every now and then.
Is that how we sound to you?
No, but that's the thing, is that it's worth checking sometimes, because people rationalize.
No, I don't. I drank wine in a Catholic school.
I liked your teetotaling lush voice. Is that what that was?
I suppose. I sort of feel like that's
very novel.
Soccer mom.
Okay.
A soccer mom who just has a little nip every now and then. But yeah, it's really good. It's weird. Cool. Like, that was a short segment, but I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
Amazing.
I'm not sure I did anything else exciting this week. I went to dinner at a restaurant called Fire Pots.
That ain't bad. I ain't mad at that.
Nah, it was I think Korean. I think Korean is the origin of the cuisine that we had at Fire Pots. Because every table actually had like an induction like stovetop on it.
Yeah.
And it's like they bring you a pot full of broth and some stuff that's uncooked, and you put the pot on the stove, and then you cook it. And I was like, I sort of feel like you should be doing this.
Yeah, when I was in Korea, I went to a couple places that are like that. You just sit there, and then there's just everything's hot in front of you. And I was like, I don't like this at all. But yeah, that is a thing.
It was good. Don't get me wrong. Like the broth they brought me, and the lamb and cabbage and other things. It was tasty, but even still, I was kind of like, when I go to other places, they bring me cooked food. They were not fazed.
I guess it's like one of those like things where people go apple picking, and it's like, oh, you do it. You say this is your job.
My ma used to go pickle picking. Not like, I mean, obviously they weren't pickles when they were picked.
They were Ogórki boner worms, or whatever, or whatever.
They were Ogórki larvae, is what they were. And then later, when you rub them together, Austin, and feed them enough eggs and wander around, they turn into Snorlaxies. Snorlaxi? Or is Snorlax one of those like moose?
Pokemon
it's like it is singular and plural.
All Pokemon are.
What, plural?
They're both. So like I have a Pikachu and oh look, a bunch of Pikachu.
Yeah.
That seems like a really easy way out for Nintendo to run that shit.
Yeah, because that way you only have to trademark the one thing. And you don't have to worry about
smart-ass motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So anyways, that's Johnny's adventures in wine and restaurant going this week.
Cool. All right.
How do you guys feel about biodegradable garbage? No, nothing.
I don't know.
Just shut down your own segment.
I just throw everything out the window. Hope it lands somewhere important. No, I'm just fucking... Okay. No. Next. I'm sorry. Austin, you said you had like 8 million other things to talk about.
Yeah, I have infinity things over here. I'm listening to you guys talk about Ogórki Sonderhaus, and I cannot stop looking at this picture, and it's not going to make any sense to anyone listening.
Austin, get your concert wowie out of your head.
I'm just gonna retweet it. All right, somebody, if you're listening to this and you're like, what in the good grief are they talking about? Go to my Twitter. So I had some interesting Thanksgiving interactions. Do you guys want to hear about them, or do you want to hear about the Snorlax I'm breeding? I have one named Lunchbox and one named Meatloaf.
I want to know like anything besides that. So like,
I feel like I already mined the Snorlax conversation before we started the show.
Yeah, which is what you were referencing, which is a really good callback for audience of me. So over the Thanksgiving thing, the American Thanksgiving holiday weekend we had recently. We
I'm sorry.
had a bunch. Yeah.
Just like one quick thing. This is something I've always been curious about. Thanksgiving weekend thing. Okay.
Right.
Now, traditionally speaking, America always has Thanksgiving on a Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, it has to be.
Okay. So, like, I know that Friday famously is referred to as Black Friday,
Yes.
Correct.
and it's a big retail day and shit like that. But
It is indeed.
But does, like, the rest of the world shut down? Or the country? Is it like, can you get a doctor's appointment on Black Friday? Or is everybody like, are you crazy? Like, work the day after Thanksgiving?
It's not the purge. It's just there are people. Look, here's what happens on Black Friday. A bunch of sales happen, and then there are a few incidents that happen in the country, like someone punches someone who you shouldn't have punched, and then they punch back, and then someone records that thing.
No, I get that. I understand that it isn't.
The answer is everyone who takes off work who has the power to do so.
Yes,
Which means
yeah.
if you're rich or powerful, you take the day off. A lot of retail employees can't afford to or don't have the option to, so they are.
No, obviously.
It's
So,
not
the grocery stores and Walmart and Target and Floyd's House of Socks are going to be open, but
it's not a national holiday.
I recognize that as well, but I mean, presumably one of the things about it is that there are a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Privileged services or companies that are like, fuck it.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of those kind of people take the day off, but
right.
It also probably depends.
Right. But it's not like this secret agreement handshake, wink wink, like, whoop, Thanksgiving's coming up and then we're all gonna be back at work on Friday, right?
No, if you can afford it, or if you have more power, then Black Friday is a better experience for you, which is a lot like the Purge, actually.
Yeah.
So.
But kids have to go to school and shit.
Oh yeah. Nothing is actually shutting down.
I didn't have school.
Okay, well that's fine. Some schools for Thanksgiving will close for a couple days instead of just one day.
Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with the market.
I'm not saying that people are like, let's close down for Black Friday. I'm just like, I'm just sort of wondering if it's this kind of like sly agreement that everybody in America has on the side that they're like, yeah, Thanksgiving's on Thursday and then, fucking whatever on Friday.
No, it's not like the last day of senior high where everyone.
Okay, all right, okay. That's it just clarified because that is suspiciously what it looks like from afar.
Okay, that's I guess that's fair, but no, Black Friday is just a day when there's a lot of sales, and there's not we make more big a deal out of it than it really is.
No, again, I'm not.
I love how Wordfunk can take a simple question like, do most people get Black Friday off and turn it into a 6-minute conversation?
No, it wasn't even a question about whether or not they get it off. Is that, because I know all about Black Friday because we see all the news and we see all the, tune in to KCTS 25, best Black Friday deals. And, we see all the footage and the people who get run over with shopping carts and hit with, traffic pylons and things like that. I was just sort of wondering if it was like, the informal day off. Like Leon says, like the last day of senior high, where it's like, yeah, sure, whatever, come into school, because you have to be here. Anyways, Austin, so, the day before Black Friday, you were chilling in your crib.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so there's a couple of different things I could talk about. One was that we downloaded and played Jackbox. Are you guys familiar with those games?
Yes.
I love the Jackbox games.
Yeah, I played them with my friends. We usually get together at conventions and we're bored. Let's play Jackbox, and that becomes a thing for 2 hours.
Yeah, Jackbox is the ultimate get-together game. Besides maybe Super Smash Brothers, depending on who you have.
Well, but the thing about it is, and the thing about I love it is that you can just use your phone as a controller. That is a super low barrier to entry, and it's just genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, of course, we played a lot of Quiplash, which is kind of the signature game, which is Cards Against Humanities, except for people who can think for themselves. It's pretty fun. And I tell this kind of part of it, just because if you haven't played these games, you should. They're good. But also it kind of leads into the next part of the story, which is my half-sister and her boyfriend came up for Thanksgiving.
That's nice.
And
now this is your sister on your... Like, are you biologically related?
we have the same mother.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just call her my sister usually, but just for... anyway, so normally, I'd actually not even just normally, I don't care who any of my siblings date. It's not a big thing. We don't have, like, that weird, like...
Oh, God.
Brother protective thing.
Did he rip his shirt off in the middle of dinner and have a certain orange-faced man's name painted on his chest, and then scream primally, and then, like, run into the wilderness and return with an opossum in his teeth?
You're not that far off.
How many swastikas were tattooed on his forehead?
We didn't do a full investigation. No, but here's the thing. Neither me nor my half-brother Tyler give a single solitary crap who any of us date. It's just not a thing any of us are concerned about. We're all adults. Okay. But this guy, who seemed like perfectly fine at first, he seemed like a college educated. He speaks like 4 languages or something. He's like a smart, cool dude or whatever.
Which 4? Because if Esperanto is one of them,
I think it was English, Spanish, French, and German, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know exactly. It doesn't matter for the purposes of the story. My point is, he didn't show up like high on meth in a pickup truck with truck nuts. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it kind of...
He was wearing a body snatcher disguise.
Okay, so we're gonna have to fast forward through this to get through with these chuckleheads.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The point is, we were playing Quiplash, and he kept making low-key Islamophobic jokes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Like a series of them, and not even like funny ones. Like if you're gonna make like kind of a racy or kind of a risque joke, like if it's funny enough, like take a shot. What's the worst that could happen? Someone says that's not cool, and you go, sorry, my bad. But like he kept doing them, and they were bad and not funny, and also messed up because our Muslim friend was over.
Yeah.
And like I said this after he left, like if it hadn't been like Thanksgiving, I think we probably just would have kicked his ass, like just right there, because you just can't say that shit in front of our friend. Like I don't give a crap that it's my sister's boyfriend. That doesn't mean anything to me. But so we had like long conversations about like what's like the ass beating threshold, I guess is the thing, right? Mm-hmm. Is there a certain, like, can someone say something where it's like, well, now I have to break this dude's jaw? Like, it's just, that's, like, I consider myself a civilized person, but this has to happen now.
I have an answer to that. The only like almost socially agreed upon, and you can't see, but I'm using finger quotes here. The only like socially agreed upon, well, of course you had to, when you punch someone, is if they insult you, but insult your spouse or the person with whom you're in a relationship, because then it's like, oh, well, fuck you, you can't say that to my girl or my guy. Boom. Now I've never had to do that, but it came close once, which is weird for me. But that is like the that's the one line you're not allowed to cross. Now in reality, there are way worse things you can say to someone besides something shitty to someone you're with. But that's like the one that apparently everyone's like, oh, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny from a legal perspective, there actually used to be like a legally recognized defense of stuff like that, where like if someone, insults your honor, or there's even things like if you catch your spouse cheating, like you were allowed to kill both of them or something. I think that might still be on the books in Texas. But like a lot of that's really super culturally dependent. So I've been thinking about that a lot recently, because he even said like people harass him in public all the time. And he's like, well, I can't, rise if I act like the kind of like violent person they think I am, I'll just be like reinforcing that.
Yeah, people
and
point and say, see, I was right.
So he's like, he's super like cool and calm and collected about it. He's actually only found this out recently. Apparently he was like a minor, or like, I don't know, a Vine star of some note, in the sense he's he's been recognized. People have come up to him in public and be like, "Oh my God, you from Vine!" Like, I don't want to say his name,
Okay.
because I don't want to blow up his spot or anything. But apparently, he's also, Vine's dead anyway, so why does it matter? Anyway, so I've just been thinking about this a lot because this is someone who deals with a lot of shit, and I feel kind of powerless because there's not anything you can't say anything to change someone's mind about that. Like, I don't want to repeat like all the heinous jokes, but like,
I don't think that an ass beating does much of that either, though.
Exactly,
Yeah, because
it's more for
somebody,
more for you.
Yeah, it really is. It's like it's a totally cathartic. Like, well, I really stood up to that.
Yeah, here's the thing about that. There's actually there are like legitimate studies about what works to change someone's mind about something and what does not work to change someone's mind about something. If someone, for example, is just like being a shitty racist, screaming "fuck you, racist," you would think would be the exact right thing to say to a fucking racist. But when people are attacked for their beliefs, they retreat into them, apparently. And they demonize whoever is saying anything against them and say, "Oh, well, you must be wrong, and therefore I must be right." So in order to change someone's mind about something, the terrible thing is, no matter how unreasonable they are, your best tactic is to speak to them calmly about why they're a piece of shit, but not use those words. Like, for example, I used to have some shitty ideas about things. I like to think that I've grown. I'm still not done. They haven't taken me out of the oven yet. I still have work to do. But things like people saying, "Oh, well," and like flipping me off because of like something or other, was not a great way for me to figure out how to change my behavior. Reading and people directing me to other things I should read were helpful. And that seems like it seems like shitty to have to say that. Like, "Oh, you're like a fucking Nazi. Why do I shouldn't be nice to you?" And maybe you can't, but like, when a Nazi doesn't know they're a Nazi and you keep screaming that they're a Nazi, that's not going to make them think that they're a Nazi somehow. It's very strange. But
You have to make people think it's like their own idea, that they're very smart and they've figured out stuff. It's almost like Inception, right? They have to believe that it's coming from inside them. Because people don't like to feel like they're being imposed on or tricked or forced. It's like there's like some kind of weird innate self-defense mechanism. Which
there's a real tendency these days to, and I've noticed that one particular side likes to use this defense. That it's like, "Oh, you're only going to develop as a person if you expose yourself to other perspectives, you know." And like, I mean, in a certain way that's true. But at the same time, you know, there's such a thing as the right delivery method for those perspectives.
Not to mention, like, being careful about what perspectives.
Well,
they're not all created equal.
You know, like, I don't remember who it is who famously said, I think it was Carl Sagan who said, you know, "Be careful that you don't keep too open a mind or else your brain will fall out." And it's like, okay, you know, a perfect contemporary example of this that I can think of are the auto block lists that people like to use on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of knee-jerk reaction and really bad assessment of these auto block lists as censorship. Mm-hmm. And the defense of why these auto block lists are so bad are because, like, you know, you have to expose yourself to other people's ideas. And it's like, yeah, that's true, you do. But at the same time, you know, there's a big difference between exposing yourself to other people's ideas and then exposing yourself to 1% of that exposure being ideas and the other 99% of it being insulting hate speech and harassment. Yeah. There's no value in those ideas. "Oh, why do you keep an open mind?" "Okay, my mind is open." Pfft, fag. You know, like...
That's common.
It kind of happens like that.
Yeah.
So...
I don't know. Like, I hear what you're saying, but as someone from like the rural American South, a lot of the ideas that they want you to be open to are that they don't have as much money as they would like. And they have theories about why it is like that. And really it all boils to, I think a lot of, like, everyone's talking about economic anxiety. I think a lot of that is like just greed. I think that's what it comes down to. Like, you ask people why they voted for who they voted for, and it's like, I think he's going to do this, this, and this, which will get me more money, whether it's, taxes or deportation or anything. Like, it's all that's what it comes down to, is money, and that's a very Austin thing to say. But I think it really is. I think a lot of the discriminatory stuff is really just coded that greed in almost a sense. I don't think the people who are in the literal gold gilded towers with gold furniture actually spend that much of their day thinking like racist, homophobic shit. I think they just would like more money is what they would like.
Okay. I have two things to say about what we're talking about here, and specifically about what Johnny was saying. First, you have every right to say whatever you want to say, and in almost any venue, but I'm not obligated to listen. If there's a show on TV, and I don't want to watch it, I can skip over it or hit mute. The show exists. Your opinions exist. That doesn't mean they have to reach me. I do try to listen to people because I like to broaden my horizons, but not, like I said, not all opinions are made equal.
Yeah. And nobody is guaranteed an audience.
Yeah. That's and I think that's perfectly fair. Some people don't see it that way, but that's how I see it. But second thing about these block lists, I want everyone to know that if I block you, I have done it individually because I hate you. No, I'm just fine.
This is a very purposeful social maneuvering on my part.
No, in all seriousness, I have had to block people. It's it's never because, like, how do I put this? It's never done easily because it's bad for business, basically. It's bad for, I mean, I use my social media primarily as related to my business. And whether blocking on Twitter or blocking on YouTube, it's bad for business to limit someone because I want them to watch my show and I want them to interact with me. So I have to kind of like weigh that on how annoying you are. But no, I've never used a block list, but I have had to block people. If you are blocked by me, trust that there is a reason. Trust that it was not by accident. Trust that I did not use some weird blanket block list, which I believe can exist if people want them to. Well, I've not participated in.
The only reason why I brought it up is because, there's an old chess maxim that goes that the only way that you get better is by playing opponents who are better than you are. Mm-hmm. And it is true that the only way for you to get educated is to expose yourself to things that you don't know about. And that can take a number of forms. And yeah, it can take the form of dialogue. It can take the form of talking to somebody who doesn't share the same knowledge, origin, life experience, you name it, as you do. But there has to be merit in that exchange. There has to be merit in that dialogue. So when people complain about the block lists and say, "Oh, you're not letting the free and clear lines of communication run so that you can educate. You're just close-minded." It's a bad argument.
Yeah. I think an even simpler way of saying it is it's my timeline. I can do whatever I want with it. But yeah, I mean, you're right. And about the chess thing, like I'm reading a book by someone who is way smarter than me in hopes of me, being a little bit smarter at the end of it. And that's the kind of person I want to hear.
Rerouting back to the point here, Austin. I'm kind of the opinion, as somebody who studies punching and kicking, that self-defense is really the only way when it comes to violence. That it never really achieves a change of ideology because you hit someone and they go, "They just hit me because my beliefs. Well, I'll show them. I'm gonna believe harder." And
you should have believed in not getting punched.
I'm going to be harder and in
I
worse
believe
things.
in not getting punched. I do. I believe very fervently in not getting punched. And outside of my recreational hobbies, I have largely succeeded. But yeah, I don't know that there's a threshold. I think there's okay, you've got to stop. And then after that, there's okay, now you have to get out.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to that story. I was expecting to kind of expound on it, but we've spent like 15 minutes talking about.
I want to
politics.
hear more. I want to hear more. I want to hear more about this because I'm actually very interested in this.
Right, okay.
Because it's a good question because it's a story that brings up issues of conflict resolution, reconciliation of different beliefs, how you ought to behave in polite company, and not being a dick.
I mean, so I'm trying to think of even where to start. So at some point, someone pulled him aside. I don't remember I think it was like the next morning, and apparently I had a talk with him, and he was like, "Oh, I was just kidding. Like, I'm not actually a terrible monster or something," which is, of course, what anyone would say, right? No one thinks of themselves as a bad person.
Yeah.
And like I get it, right? Like, I've made like jokes that went too far, and I don't want people to crucify me. Like, I'm not a monster. I understand, but that's what all bad people think about the things they do.
Yeah.
And I just don't have enough time or brain space to deep dive into everyone's soul to figure out if I should let them in my house.
It is not your responsibility to save people. This much is true. It's not your responsibility to set everybody on the right path. You're not a moral crusader. What you can do is not put up with shitty behavior in spaces that you control. And if you can't do something to stop shitty behavior in a space that you don't control, you can remove yourself from it. You can say, I'm not going to fucking take this. I cannot take this. And then leave.
I don't allow Nazis in my house.
Yeah.
That's a good,
sorry.
I mean, good policy.
You can be a Nazi, but I'm just not letting you in. I'm sorry.
I would I'd be like, as far as I'm concerned, if he had actually decided to offer an apology to your Muslim friend and be like, listen, I'm sorry, I was out of line. That was just, I thought I was being goofy. It didn't work out. It painted me in a really bad light. That's not the person that I am. I'm sorry if I said something offensive. I'd be like, okay, maybe we can give this guy another chance.
Yeah, to my knowledge, that did not happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that says something about him. So that means that, you know what? He doesn't get invited back.
Yeah, I mean, he was only there because he was my sister's boyfriend. And like I said, I actually don't... She could sleep with the devil. I don't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even have any room to talk. Like, I date, like, exclusively crazy people. And it's like... It's totally fine. Whatever.
But you can control your space. You can say, not here.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right, I have two things to say about that. One,
cool.
I would be a little concerned if your sister were sleeping with the devil.
Whatever. I'm sure he knows his shit, right? Like, I bet he's into some stuff.
He's probably a bomb lay.
Yeah, I'm just saying there might be. I mean, when you're dealing with that level of evil, there might be some splashback. So I would watch out for your own shit. And second thing, sometimes I think I'm a bad person, but that's the nuns talking.
You've been waiting to drop that one on us now for a while, huh?
Yep. No. Sometimes I do think I'm a bad person, but that's I know from and I'm not saying it's not necessarily true or never true, but I know from where it derives. Anyway.
I've done bad things, but I don't think I'm a bad person.
Yeah. There was actually some weird wisdom about that on Adventure Time, of all things. There was an episode where Marceline, the Vampire Queen, and Lumpy Space Princess were talking about it. And Marceline says, I don't think people are usually bad people. I just think that people sometimes do bad things. And that's an oversimplification of it, but it's not true all the time.
I think Gravity Falls, Adventure Time, and Steven Universe are like going to be talked about for generations to come. Hopefully,
I was just going to say, as always on this podcast, gentlemen, it always comes back to cartoons.
All right, Austin, if you would like to transition into Law Corner now that we've gotten.
Do you have any other cool Thanksgiving adventures? Leon, did you have any cool Thanksgiving adventures?
No. I spent time with my best friend / ex-wife, and what did we do? We
sang
ate
a song.
Stuff. No, we
Buy a
ate
ukulele.
I think we had chicken and stuffing. Basically Thanksgiving stuff, except not turkey. And we watched something.
Football.
We watched episodes of Atlanta, and then we watched a movie.
Was the movie Rudy? Because I hear that movie's about football. Friday Night Lights.
We watched.
Remember the Titans.
Oh my God, we watched Ty West's new movie, A Valley of Violence. Pretty good. I don't want to get into a whole thing about it, but it's good. I like Ty West.
The Replacements.
Austin, please save us. Talk about
right.
the law.
So I don't think I'm going to do a specific case this week, partially because all the really interesting ones that I have in mind are like depressing because the history.
The
of
Longest
law...
Yard. No, sorry.
Oh dear. And also
that one was just that one was choking up the pipeline because of the remake. I'm good now. I'm okay. Don't put your hands on me. I'm all right.
Finals for me are next week as of this recording, and I don't know if you guys know the way law school finals works, but it doesn't matter if you get all the questions right. That doesn't mean you get 100%. The way it works is that there's this curve, and there's only a certain percentage of grades that are allowed to be given out. So I think like if
you're on law school is on bell curve where you are?
Yeah, my understanding is it's like that everywhere. Because we have to be introduced to cutthroat capitalism as early as possible and get used to fucking each other over.
Well, I don't know it's like that in Canada.
Okay.
For anyone...
Because my cousin is a lawyer. And incidentally, she mated with, get this, another lawyer.
That's dangerous.
The child they have is not yet a lawyer. I can say that, at least. So there's hope for the future.
But I feel like it's inevitable.
Anyways.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are like, I went to undergrad for architecture, but then, my parents were like, you need to be a lawyer. And so I'm here. Anyway, so the way it works is like in my class, I think there's going to be like 4 A's. That's how many they have to give out, which means like the 4 best people get A's. It doesn't matter if you get every question right. If you're not the top 4 people, you don't get an A.
So what you got to do is get all the questions right and then argue how right you got them.
Or how wrong everyone else is, but you have to, I guess, anticipate their answers. But it's all anonymous, too. It's all anonymously graded so that there can't be any favoritism. But like in undergrad, if everyone answered the questions right, everyone got 100 because if you did it right. That's how math works. But no, in this one, it's like kill or be killed, eat or be eaten by design, which is, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it yet because I'm not competitive by nature. But also, I think it would be really cool if I just wrecked all these rich people.
Austin?
Yeah?
Pick a target.
So...
Wreck it.
You just pick a target, and in the margins of your exam, write, Blake is a fucking scrub.
So... What I wanted to bring to you guys for Law Corner this week and also for D&D Corner is I wanted to go through a couple incidents that have happened in our D&D campaign, Dice Funk, and discuss them from a legal point of view.
Oh, boy.
I feel like I already know what one is going to be, but all right.
Yeah, no, but that's good. That's good. Right. You'll have you come into it with perspective. It'll make it
Leon,
quicker.
How's your nautical law?
No, that's boat law.
All right.
No.
So we'll try to do this we'll do this quick. I don't want to linger too much on it, but here's the situation. 3 people are walking down a street, and they're accosted by 5 miners. The miners are aggressive, but don't draw weapons. And I think they throw a punch before the 3 people draw bladed weapons and kill the miners. How do you guys feel about that legally?
Okay. I feel like you're leaving a few things out.
Okay.
First of all, there was not maybe they threw a punch. We were outnumbered. That's number 1. They instigated a conflict. They were not unarmed. They had pickaxes, which are extremely dangerous.
Which, as I recall, were not being used in the fight until weapons appeared.
That is true. That is perfectly fair. And I know what Austin is going to say, because we've actually discussed this before on Law Corner. It came up briefly, that technically we are legally in the wrong, but I also feel that medieval law would be different.
Yeah, obviously for the purposes of this, let's apply our real law and not like fantasy mumbo-jumbo law.
That's fair.
Fantasy mumbo-jumbo law was nobody saw it.
All right. Well, let's. I'm gonna bring this a little close to home, Austin. What if it happened in Florida?
So I think you're trying to do like a stand your ground thing.
I am.
Yes, in Florida, you're allowed to assume lethal intent in situations in which usually you would not be able to. Usually, it has to do with your home. But there are other situations. But the fact that they started it, they were instigators, and they made you fear for your life, and they were armed, I think probably would be enough. It's definitely enough for assault. And if they threw the first punch, battery as well. So those guys are definitely in the wrong in a number of ways. But when you instigate it to the next level of lethality, in most jurisdictions, you then become in the wrong as well.
Because you did not draw and threaten and be like, back away or you're going to get it. It was
I
that guy punched me. Here come the maces.
Yeah.
In fairness, both
there's going to be a lot of in fairness.
In fairness,
Leon, nobody's judging here, man.
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm gonna say something here.
You're not a D&D criminal. It's okay.
It's okay. I'm just saying that both from my and my character's perspective, we were in lethal danger. Now, we might not have been because, in all likelihood, we would have won because, I mean, thinking about it, Johnny wasn't going to, send us, an impossible horde on episode 2 of this podcast. But my experience with D&D at the time, which informed my character's experience as well, was that bad guys come at us, bad guys attack, we are rolling for initiative now.
Yeah, I mean, it is true that I was very purposely trying to push buttons. I'm not saying I didn't engineer that situation.
That actually does explain a lot about Leon, that he was trying to play it like a normal D&D game and not like a collaborative narrative experience.
Yeah.
Right. I was playing a game, and there were bad guys. that was as far as I thought for it.
Oh, dear,
I didn't want my character to die right after I rolled him.
Because in a video game, what would happen is, at the end of that, there'd be a dialogue sequence that's like, oh my god, you have a binary choice. Do you kill me or let me go?
Or it would just award you experience, and those guys' sprites would disappear and never be mentioned again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I mean,
That's how I play video games.
It's a clear.
That's why I play tabletop, is because video games don't have the ability or the time and money. Cost
they don't have the
systems
systems
to do it. They could theoretically. It's just not worth the development to account for every possible permutation.
I definitely like playing Dice Funk more than I like playing almost any video game. But I just like crushing it. Also, so when there's a bad,
we have noticed that about you.
Yeah. So when there's a bad guy and he's like, I'm gonna get you, motherfucker. I'm like, oh, I'm the motherfucker. Well, you just got motherfucked. And then when Austin's like, oh, lethal or non-lethal, I'm like, what do you think? What do you think?
Yeah.
Also, I have, mathematically, because of the way Austin awards experience points, I shouldn't have to kill people because I know I'm not getting anything for it.
Yeah, I deliberately don't award it. There's 0 experience points in my campaign, specifically because I don't want to pigeonhole anyone into any specific kinds of play which may incentivize murder.
Well, Austin, I think you and I have organically kind of created a lot of Drops history together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Particularly the mythos behind the Order of the Calming Waters. And I feel that that's guided his hand some.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of cool, we'll get into it in the post-mortem of Dice Funk Season 2. But you guys actually wrote the plot, in your character backstories, and I just kind of worked with what you gave me.
Okay.
As I think it's becoming clear, but
Okay.
let's move to a new scenario.
All right.
Sure.
All right, so
So we decided I was right. Good. Next.
no, not even. Nope.
You were defensible, Leon.
Thank you.
Your actions were defensible.
Yeah, depending on the jurisdiction.
There's a big difference between being right.
No. I'm talking about I'm talking about legal rights. I'm definitely not talking about moral rights. Morally speaking, like, maybe we should have done something else.
Mm-hmm. Now, they committed assault and battery. You committed at least manslaughter. So next situation, you're chilling at home, and then 8 people knock on your door, and they have 2x4s and beer bottles and crowbars and hammers, and they demand for you to come outside, and you don't, and in fact throw 2 grenades outside, and when that fails to kill them, a fight ensues, and you kill them all, including one who tries to run away. How do you feel about that?
Are we in Texas?
See, that's a good joke, but also totally relevant, because in Texas, if someone comes onto your property, you can basically just saw them. You can hostile their ass. No one gives a shit.
When I moved to Texas, I was very, very young. I was only about a year old or so when we moved to Texas. My neighbor, my family's neighbors, born-again Christians, God bless them, advised my dad pretty much the first time that they met, oh, you should buy a gun. And if anybody ever tries to break into your house or come onto your property, like, unbidden, shoot them dead. Because if you don't kill them, they'll try to sue you.
Yeah, I mean, that is also a thing. If it's a lot harder to sue somebody when you're dead. So if there's any like doubt in your mind about whether or not you're justified, you probably, legally speaking, you should finish the job, which some people might argue is why police officers are trained to shoot in a certain way. Maybe not to leave survivors. Is that controversial to say?
Gee, Austin. I don't know. Seems like such a hot button topic these days.
I'm just saying it's a lot easier to say that you were unarmed.
I'm gonna say in Texas, yeah, there are no problems with that. I mean, the grenade might be a little bit of overkill, but
to answer your question, Austin, how do I feel about it? I felt really good.
Yeah,
like that was one of my favorite scenes. I wanted more people to die.
Jesus Christ. I've heard, I guess read commenters say that, like, Leon uses Dice Funk as, like, a pressure release valve for, like, because he's such a pure, innocent cupcake in his normal life, in his film criticism, in his, like, social media presence. He's just, like, this angelic,
he's a gentle soul,
Boston cream cake. And then when he goes to Dice Funk, he's like, I have to exorcise these demons, blood for the blood god!
There's a lot of repressed stuff inside me. I'm glad I have a healthy outlet for it. Some people don't find that. I try to find it in harmless activities.
Yeah. No, but I mean, you're right. In some jurisdictions, if someone comes onto your property, they're taking their life into their own hands. But that's a minority. That's some of the more let's call them regressive states of this union. But normally, as we discussed in the case where the person hid a shotgun trap. Yeah. If you remember that from months ago, you cannot use lethal force on someone who is doing something non-lethal, like trespassing or assault, which in a torts context means making you fear for your safety.
Yeah. I would hope that you might glean from Drop's reaction to the situation.
Yeah, he wasn't thrilled.
Nah, not especially.
There's a lot of good character work in Dice Funk. I think it gets a lot. People say, "Oh, that's a funny show," but I think a lot of people should also think about how it makes you feel.
Yeah, come on, people, heal the world.
No, there's everyone's doing a really good job in that show. Is there any other situations that you guys want to go over? Because I'm rolling them around in my head, and it's like, you guys stole the ship. Like, that's crime. Yep. That's just crime. People came after you because you stole their ship and you killed them. That's crime.
Although hold on. By stealing the ship, we did to ensure our own survival.
Still crime.
Yeah,
Remember we talked about there's a necessity exception for trespass, but any damage you do whilst trespassing, even if there is an exception for that, you are still liable for. But are there any other murders you want to try to justify, Leon?
I feel pretty good about all of my murders.
Okay, cool. Do you guys want to answer questions then?
How does Anne justify her?
Anne, oh man, Anne.
No,
Anne
Anne
would get exemption from
mental
her
illness?
inability to operate as a sentient creature.
No, I mean Anne was a terrorist and a mentally deficient one. I don't know the official because those terms are very fluid, especially in law, which lags behind like a decade in that. Yeah. But there are certain exceptions to be made if you're like not you don't have the agency to stand trial for your own actions or whatever. There's a lot.
I sort of feel like the way that the party behaved in the Tiger Mountains, Drop specifically, was culturally relative.
There's a lot to dig into there from a character perspective, from thematic standpoints. There's actually more than I planned on that. People have been talking in the forums about like some like family themes and stuff they're pulling out. There's I could write quite a lot about that, but I have questions here.
We'll talk. Let's do questions. Leon, you down for questions?
I'm down for so many questions. Let's do
All right.
A whole bunch of questions.
Answer number 1, Chip for prayers.
Oh, dear. Forum Mom Kristen Haslinger asks, do you guys have any wise sayings or famous quotes that actually influence the way you think or see things? Do you guys have any, like, influential words tattooed above your butt?
Yeah. Shannon Wheeler, whom I've spoken to you guys about as the author and artist who does Too Much Coffee Man, does comics for the New Yorker, as well as God is Disappointed in You, the Bible reboot I spoke about a few months ago. He's got a quotation that I've always held dear to me that goes, "There's a fine line between saying things that make sense."
That's very good, and I didn't want to interrupt in case you were going to like try to throw another joke in there.
No, that's it.
Yeah, I got it.
That's it. And that's all Shannon Wheeler. I didn't.
Before you answer, I want to point out that I Googled Ogórki Sonic to get a better picture of that Ogórki pickles Sonic jar. And,
is it licensed?
Not. Listen, I've fallen down a rabbit hole. There's like fan art of this. Please Google image search Ogórki Sonic, Ogorki Sonic. Like,
gotta go sour.
Yeah. Leon, do you want to answer the question while me and Johnny delve into this? Apparently, it's Polish. I'm getting from my Google search.
Yeah, there was the sausage place next to me that has since gone.
Okay.
They sold Ogórkis, not Ogórki Sonic, but Ogórkis. And they were.
I have like mantras like that I try to live by, or things to remind myself to do. But I'm trying to think if there is like a quote from like a movie. That,
oh yeah.
Like.
Resonates. Sorry, I've got another one, but I'll wait until Leon's done.
I'm struggling actually. You can go right ahead.
Oh, all right. Okay, I'm just trying to remember the exact wording of it. It was Ian McShane's character in Deadwood.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have to look it up to actually get it like properly. But it's a scene after Merrick, the newspaper man, after his newspaper gets sacked by some of the thugs. So I'm just gonna look up the quotes here. Yeah. All right. Al Swearingen. It goes, and I'm gonna try my best Al Swearingen impression here.
Here we go.
Pain or damage don't end the world. Or despair. Or fucking beatings. The world ends when you're dead. Until then, you got more punishment in store. Stand it like a man. And give some back.
Eat.
Yeah. Which I don't take as license to be cruel.
No.
But to at least be as hard as the situations presented to you.
Okay.
We actually got a question about Deadwood. Maybe I'll throw that one in there, because that's a good show
It's a great show.
that I've only just recently started watching. But I want to throw in my quotes here. I've been thinking about this recently because I've been writing papers. So this isn't like life advice. It's just writing advice from someone who's been a journalist and a writer of fiction and now legal memos, which are A, know your audience. I don't remember who said that. And B, which I do remember this is Strunk and White, Elements of Style, which says, omit needless words. And that may seem hypocritical coming from someone who talks a lot and for a living, but trust me, you are getting a very, very edited version of my brain. I try very hard to not say more than I need to, and I realize that sounds ridiculous coming from me. But yeah, that's the best writing advice I could possibly give, is those two, and that's the best. That's the thing I'm most qualified to give advice in. So that's what I have for you.
All right.
But Doctor, I am Pagliacci.
All right, so let's ask that Deadwood question. Let me find that, because I actually only recently watched it. This is I'm gonna mess this name up. I apologize.
Have you finished it? You finished the show?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Aki Savolainen? I'm sorry, I'm the worst. Any thoughts for HBO shows Deadwood or Carnivàle?
Both of them. So
Yeah.
beautiful.
I haven't seen Carnivàle, but I've seen Deadwood very recently. I never watched it back in the day. I only caught up on like the HBO app or whatever after Game of Thrones ended, and I basically mainlined the whole show, and it's very, very good. Obviously, Al Swearingen is the standout character, but everyone puts in a good performance, including the detective who is the like antagonistic detective from Psych. I can't remember the actor's name, but I like him a lot.
Timothy Amundsen.
Yeah, he reconnoiters, and it doesn't go great.
No, it doesn't.
But any particular thoughts on Deadwood?
Honestly, it's some of the best TV I've ever seen. One of the best character dramas. One of the more interesting times in American history that I don't think particular elements in Deadwood, particular elements that Deadwood pays attention to that other movies of the time don't. Where, like, you know, the very first season, there's a large amount of conflict between settlers in Deadwood and the Native Americans. And we're identifying with the settlers, so we're like, oh, you know, okay. So, obviously these people are doing questionable things, but they're good people, you know. They just want their own life. They want, you know, to carve out a path for themselves. And then later in the series, we more or less essentially deal with the government and business, like big business, doing the same thing to regular people. Bigger and more powerful people coming in to lucrative situations that would hoist just, you know, regular working people up and savaging them. It is a deeply illustrative show of the hazards of capitalism and the secret classicism that exists in the United States. I've always disliked that the show ended after 3 seasons, but apparently David Milch, I think, is the show's creator. Maybe it's Milchin. Is currently writing conclusive movies that HBO has said, yeah, we're doing it. So we are going to get Deadwood conclusions. But yeah, I mean, it's by taking America and kind of transporting it to a time when it was not America, we get a really, really we get a really, really focused look at what America kind of actually is, about its justice, about its rules, about its law, because law is different than justice, about its castes, and about American interests. So and all of it wrapped up in such an amazing character drama with just some fantastic actors. Carnivàle, unfortunately, I have a little less to say about, but it is almost as good. Similarly, set in a very specific time in American history. It happens during the drought, the Dirty 30s, and follows mostly a sort of a carnival freak show, sideshow, that was sort of popular at the time. And these characters in it who are actually... Well, one of them is actually particularly possessive of real power. Played by, I can't remember the actor's name, but he wound up playing John Connor in Terminator 3. And then on the other end of it, too, there's... And again, I can't remember this actor's name either, and I used to know it. Clancy Brown. Sorry, that's it. Clancy Brown. The Kurgan. Yeah. And Clancy Brown plays a priest, like a minister, whose goal through the entire Dirty 30s and the drought and the Dust Bowl is to try and allay the fears of America. But he's kind of got a power too, and it's all about the struggle between the common man and established organizations. You have to forgive me. This is rough. I haven't watched Carnivàle in years because Deadwood I've owned, and I've watched Deadwood 7 times, so I've had plenty of time to digest it. But Carnivàle is this, again, just a really interesting look at a forgotten part of American history and the evolving ideas and forces that became kind of galvanized at this time. About hope and work and delight and class and, oh, you're just a traveling carny and I'm a big preacher and everybody listens to me, and about purity of message and advertising. Ooh, advertising is a big part of Carnivàle. The advertising of ideology. The ability to sell yourself politically, which strangely enough seems more relevant than ever these days. But it was cut short even before Deadwood. It only, I think, got to 2 seasons and ended on a shit sock of a cliffhanger. And there have been no talks about concluding it or bringing it back. But visually arresting show, quite frightening in some parts, because it had this surreal element to it that that I'm not sure I've seen. Maybe True Detective. Maybe the first season of True Detective feels kind of reminiscent, except a little less grimdark, because you weren't dealing with these jaded detectives. You were dealing with poor people, usually down on their luck, poor people who were just trying to make their way through life and not, solve all the world's problems. Also, a very spectacularly acted show. A number of other actors in it that I shouldn't even bother listing, but I mean, all you've got to do is go to IMDb and look up Carnivàle, which is spelled Carnival, and then add an E to the end.
There you go.
So that's what I think of that.
All right.
Leon, any thoughts?
And I have not seen it. Next.
I do want to say the last thing on Deadwood is it has a tremendous sense of place, really aided by the use of like a practical set. Like they just built Deadwood, which is...
And how they built it over time, too.
Yeah. It doesn't... Nothing else on TV has ever felt like remotely as real as it does. And that's like... Even if the acting wasn't good or all the other stuff Johnny said wasn't true, that would still be a really cool accomplishment. Let's see here. Here's a softball. Mark Moyer asks, what's your favorite color?
Purple. Really, really dark purple. Like a really... Like almost maroon.
Oh.
Do you have the hex and like Photoshop for it?
Nah.
Nah.
No.
Leon?
It's just, it always draws my eye. I don't look good in it. I look good in reds, because red brings out my eyes, but no, purple, I can't wear purple. My complexion's a little too ruddy, mostly.
I like green. It really brings out my big dick. Leon?
I'm going to quote Ex Machina here and say I'm an adult, so I don't have a favorite color.
Fuck.
No,
That's a funnier answer.
No, I'm sorry, I'm being a dick. No, I don't know. I mean, I wear black more than anything else, but that's it sounds like such a lame answer. Like, I love black. It matches my soul. No, I mean, I usually wear like black and gray and like dark blue. I think that just works better for me.
Real talk, like green and purple are my favorite colors because growing up I really liked Barney the dinosaur, and that was like his scene, so that was like my aesthetic.
Cool.
So
That's nice.
I mean, that's just a cool, embarrassing thing that you know about me now.
It is. I tend to bring it up almost every week.
All right.
Austin, it would be embarrassing if you were our age.
Got it.
But being like, I watched Barney the Dinosaur. I'm like, yeah, of course you did. You were a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're almost out of time here. I just want to throw another softball at you as we go out the door. Brent wants to know, favorite Mel Brooks movie?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Blazing Saddles for me.
Young Frankenstein.
Oh, that's also very good.
Spaceballs.
Oh, gosh. We all got different answers. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's optional bonus question, favorite Mel Gibson movie, which I have no intention of dignifying. I guess Braveheart.
The Road Warrior.
I can't with him. I can't with his face.
Yeah.
Did you ever see, what was it? The Beaver?
No. I know about it.
Yeah, the Beaver. I saw the Beaver. It was actually, and I saw it after, Mel Gibson. And I was like, okay, let's see if Mel Gibson can not Mel Gibson.
Okay.
And I actually quite liked it. I was sort of like, that's
I googled Mel Gibson
sympathetic.
because I was I googled Mel Gibson because I genuinely couldn't remember all of his movies. And the first thing that pops up...
Get the Gringo?
First thing that pops up is from the Daily Mail, and it says, in the news, Mel Gibson, 60, jets to LAX with pregnant girlfriend Rosalind Ross, 26.
All right, throw another softball question this way, Austin, so we can go out without that taste in our mouths.
Are you sure you don't want to just talk shit about people's face and bodies? That's not cool. That's not how we do things.
I didn't say anything about Mel Gibson. I think he's a perfectly handsome gentleman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's his soul that's ugly.
Okay, that's pretty good. Matthew Hare asks, what's your favorite AI in fiction and why?
Shodan.
First of all, great name, Matthew Hare. Second, I guess Hal. I guess that's a dumb answer, but it's the truth. I just really like Hal, especially how Hal is portrayed in the novel. A little more information is given. So yeah, I guess that's it. Hal 9000.
And you said Shodan from
System Shock and System Shock 2.
Shock.
And the impending System Shock 3.
I hate to be a downer, but the first thing that came to mind was AM from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Ooh, nice. Because Austin's just like, everybody deserves to be put in cages and just relive their worst nightmares over and over and over again, because scum.
It says a lot about how I think AI would regard humanity, which is...
Look, I just want to publicly apologize to Mel Gibson. If you want to hear my apology in full, go to my YouTube channel and click on the thing that says The Passion of the Christ. It's just 16 minutes of me apologizing to you and absolutely nothing else.
Or you could just go to patreon.com/renegade cut. Also accepts apologies there.
Yeah.
And easily, like, measurable ones. In numbers, even.
Also, I think we'll just suck your dick for $1 million. I think that's on the table too. Just putting that out there. Do you guys want to have like closing statements and then end the show?
$1 million Canadian dollars?
He's flexible, which is also helpful for the act. Do we want to? Do you guys have anything to say before we stop?
See, now I'm wondering about it. See, I just said like, oh, I'd do anything for $1 million. But like now that I'm like thinking about it, it's like. It's not so much like the act, because whatever. I mean, adult life is weird, so let's do weird stuff. But it's more like now I have to think about Mel Gibson's hate juice in my mouth, like every day for the rest of my life. Now, I mean,
it's the psychological toll, really.
Yeah, the psychological toll of the fact that he was like, "Yeah, this is what I'm doing to you."
This is so wrong.
And then like what? Like, how do I look at myself in the mirror? Because I like I said, I did an entire video about.
I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'll do anything for this podcast, but I won't do that.
I got one last thing to say. And it's super important, guys.
Good.
Pockets are a great place to keep pens until it's too late.
I thought you were just going to say pockets and then exit the call. Which would have been a pretty good move.
That's a great comment, Johnny. Conser wow is what I have to say to that.
Ogórki.